Mesdames et messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, veuillez accueillir, please welcome Jason Chen en conversation avec Michael Birkin.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
I feel like we should be negotiating a nuclear arms deal on this sort of.
I think you're going too far.
There's a big sort of barrier in the middle there, but anyway, it's wonderful to be at C2. It's always a wonderful week, and thanks for having us. I have a very easy 25 minutes ahead of me. I just have to sort of ask Jason some questions, but what we're going to be talking about is a remarkable story. Acer is a treasured company in Taiwan and a treasured company globally, but frankly,
Thank you very much for that.
So for many years was frankly struggling a little bit with the slowdown in the PC market, and it had its own specific managerial issues, to the point where 5 years ago, Stan Shi, the founder, made a change of management and brought Jason in as the CEO of the company. Jason had been a wunderkind at Intel, the most senior non-American in the company, and who had essentially piloted the growth, specifically in China and Asia for Intel in the go-go years, and then did a very similar job at TSMC, which, as you probably know, has also gone from strength to strength. So it was a big surprise, and a very welcome surprise, that he came into what was a very difficult situation, where most commentators were saying that essentially the role of the next CEO was almost to be a night manager, to sort of see the decline of the company and somehow enable it to survive, and most people doubted whether it could survive. The story that you'll hear something about in the next few minutes is a remarkable one, where perennial losses have been turned into perennial profits. The launch of new products, for example, the Predator gaming brand, which has gone from being late into the market to being a market leader in over 30 countries and major countries. I suspect all of the G8 would come into that particular group. And also in other areas, such as education, where Acer has taken the #1 slot worldwide. So with the Chromebook, which, as I'm sure we all know, has become the preeminent educational school device. So it's been a remarkable story, and I have the pleasure of just asking you a few questions about it, Jason, this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thanks for all this wonderful introduction.
So why did you do it? What were the things about Acer that made you decide to give this a go?
Life story. In fact, I knew this company, knew Acer, about 20 years already, ever since I was working for Intel. In fact, when I was working for Intel, I was the VP for worldwide sales and marketing, so I know all the PC companies, including Acer. So I know this company. I've been always appreciated by the culture of the company and the vision of Stan Shi, the founder, that breaking the barrier between technology and people. And the company believes the ability to access to technology is a human right. And I have to tell you, I was very well resonated on that vision. Seeing the company in trouble is a pain. You talk about how big a trouble that company was 5.5 years ago. Keep the long story short, just give you some ideas. I was the fourth CEO in 3 months. This is keep rotating, one after the other. Didn't work. Okay, so I was the fourth CEO, and to the point, when I was appointed to be the CEO of Acer, the Wall Street Journal actually came out with an article saying this is the man to watch and see how things will go. So that made me to take this job. And ever since then, things happen, and accordingly.
So when you started, if you could sort of itemize sort of what were the three major issues that you sort of saw in the company?
Three?
Or maybe, yes, well, I as you know, I know all too well that there were maybe 300, but nonetheless, if you could try and sort of summarize for
To start with, I think on the table, the first thing first was the company is bleeding. The company was losing lots of money. The company was 3 years in a row losing money. The last year in 2013, they lost $700 million out of a capital of $900 million. So they almost lost their pants. And seriously, if this keep going, probably another 1 or 2 years, the company will file bankruptcy. And secondly, because of the chaotic situation, they keep changing management, employee, customers, supply chain. It's understandable that the anxiety is very, very high.
So there's a lack of confidence through the whole system.
True, and if anything else that I can talk about, I spoke about two, you asked for three, right? So the last thing will be the product was pretty messy. The product roadmap was everywhere and didn't have a really true product strategy. If anything, they just tried to get market share as much as they could. Ended up, when you want to rush for market share, what happened? Price. Ended up to be the brand ended up to be in our industry called OPP brand, open price point. That means the cheapest product. In every single store, the lowest price product, Acer. And I have to tell you, we didn't like that position very much.
So when you got your feet under the table, what were the sort of initial strategies, if you recall? What were the things that you focused on initially to start the process of rebuilding confidence in the company?
When I just joined the company, I did research, study how to do turnaround. I'm curious, how many people here actually went through an MBA program, like myself? And how many of you actually study how to do turnaround? In my MBA education, we talk a lot about how to bring an A company to A+, but we got zero on how do you do turnaround, making loss to making profit. Not much document. So I did the research, I found very little. And therefore, I will have to do it myself. The first, what I did was I decided to go back to the basic, to make sure that number one thing, to calm people down, to stabilize the internal chaotic situation, stabilize the management, rebuild confidence, and then change product strategy. On the table, stop bleeding. We can't lose money anymore. Okay, those are a couple of things that we have done.
So, but I think, if I recall, I think in terms of how you approached that, it wasn't a major headcount reduction. It was more looking very firmly at all operating expenses and maintaining the best people in the company, but trying to just cut out other things. So it wasn't a great axe through people. It was more just cutting out inefficiency.
No, not at all. In fact, we didn't do any major layoff. But believe it or not, by just looking at the details and looking at what can we do, and just look at your own company. In 3 years, we reduced our operation expense by 30% without doing major layoff. Believe it or not, you better believe that. Go back and look at your financial report and see what kind of money you spend. 30% in 3 years without doing layoff. It's doable. Thank you.
But you also, knowing you as I do, you've also always been a believer in symbolism. You introduced some things. I'm thinking specifically of the cadence of your global press events every 6 months to I believe, create a confidence in the company to celebrate. There were good things going on. It's just that they were somewhat buried, I think, under a lot of other issues. But talk to me and talk to us about your thinking behind what was quite a bold agenda to sort of go to the market every 6 months in a very robust way with new products and statements. What was your thinking behind that?
Going back to the MBA education that I had, talking about product strategies, there are actually only 3. Not very complicated. Number 1, first to market. Okay, that comes with consequence that first to market, people don't understand, do not know your product, so you will have to educate the market to get your product out. Number 2, second to market, because when the first to market guy die before the market mature, the second to market get the chance. And then the third strategy is called third to market. No. The last strategy is called cost minimization. My product work, the cheapest in the market. That was the third strategy. And it's obvious that before I joined the company employed the number 3 strategy. And when I joined the company, we decided we didn't like our brand position to be the OPP brand. Help me here, what OPP means? Open price point, the lowest price brand. We didn't like that, so we changed our product strategy to be first to market. And like what you say, first to market comes with what's required. A strong, a powerful marketing engine that will be able to amplify what we have. And therefore, we look at our industry, there are only 2 major selling cycles, back to school, holiday season. So we decided to use a world-class event to amplify what we have on our product lineup in about April timeframe, New York City, the biggest city in the world. Secondly, use IFA Berlin to showcase a product lineup for the holiday season. I have to tell you, ever since beginning, we have lots of internal argument. Why do we want to do that? Because when we do that, we basically do open kimono. Everybody will see what we have, right? And competitor can follow. But you know what? In all this internal argument and debates, I told people, the difference between a leader and a follower. And you want to be a leader, that's what we do. We show people what's leading. And when people want to be follower, be my guest. And that's why we start this global press conference.
And I think it's clearly worked. Let's talk a little bit about your personal journey. I mean, you've articulated some ideas and some strategies that you introduced. What about day to day in terms of, you can read books, people can articulate what they think the right thing to do is. It's a totally different ball game when you're actually doing it. So how on a sort of day-to-day basis did you actually energize the company while you were making these decisions?
Well, like what you said, we have lots of problems, but don't tell me that you don't have problems in your company. You have problems in your company? Yeah, right? So we decided not to look at problems. The first thing we did was do inventory count. What kind of strengths and weakness we have in the company. And we decided to focus on strengths with some of the A+ skills that we have within the company. And then we look at opportunities and don't worry too much about problems. Because if we just focus on fixing problems, I promise you, you say you have problems in your company, I promise you, your speed to fix problems will not be fast enough, then the problem get created. Agree? So it ended up you're doing firefighting every single day and not enough time to try to pursue opportunities. So my day-to-day is to continue to focus on the strengths and make them from A to A+, world-class, and then pursue opportunity by using those strengths. That would be what I do. And when we do so, believe it or not, the problem get behind us. Not keep working on the problems and the shadow got longer and longer because the sun sets. Make sense?
Yeah, totally. So essentially, it's brilliant.
Thank you.
So confidence was created by streamlining, by just a way of being, by focusing on the core, and by the symbolism that was created by these events. So looking back on the 5 years that you've been there, what would you say for the audience here would be the 3, or the 2, or the 1, or whatever, however many you like, key decisions, the 3 that you really think made a big difference to getting you to where you are today?
I talk about changing the product strategy from cost minimization to first market. Second thing that I think very important is about the teamwork. How do we motivate the team? No. I didn't take anybody with me. In fact, I did. I took a driver with me to join the company. And other than that, the management team has been the original management team. I didn't change anybody. I changed some, but I didn't bring in any people together with me. However, in order to motivate people, I have this belief that people can perform the best when they are well motivated and they feel good, from my personal experience. When I got kicked, I don't want to work, I want to go home, okay? So what we did was we came up with this mechanism, I call it good news. When I travel around the world, I got lots of things going on. In fact, to share with you, we have about 160 countries around the world with Acer operation. So there are things happening here and there. Every time I heard a good news, we win a tender, we got rewarded by our wonderful product. I got an email blast to all the whole corporation. Everybody will see a good news. And starting from, I did it myself. Later on, and at the end of the email, say, if you have good news, please contact this phone number. And now we got a pipeline of good news. And think about that. Every morning when you turn on your email, you see good news. How do you feel, good or bad? Good, right? Simple things. Simple things. People feel good to work in Acer. Other than, bad news, right? Losing money. Now we are making money. Every time we have small success, we have a small celebration. Whether that's an afternoon tea, we share people, or a call in, couple of food trucks to get people motivated, feel good about what we are doing.
It's interesting because in asking that question, I thought you might have sort of said, well, it was really the launch of Predator because that really enabled us to build on our core in an area that was growing rather than declining, or all the things you've done in VR and now in AI, which I know are very exciting, not to mention aspects that you're referring to. It's just interesting that your answer goes more to the core of the way the company is organized and operating, from which I suspect you would say those other decisions came quite naturally because of that change.
Well, yes, there are some of the major decisions that we made and I made. To start with, you were talking about the gaming opportunity. In fact, the first major decision I did was to shut down smartphone. To stop a smartphone business, which has been losing money for 17 years. And I don't know why my predecessor kept it alive for so long. Personal attached emotion or whatever, or illusions, fantasies that smartphone is the biggest thing next, I decided to stop it, cut loss. And then we look at what else can we do. We want to bring up the brand premium. So what do we do to bring up the brand premium? Advertisement, hire somebody to be the representative? No, that's not what we did. What we did was we analyzed this declining PC market and try to find the bright spots, opportunities, and we found gaming. So the first 3-year strategy I did was, now we can talk about that because that was a long time ago already, was to build up brand premium through gaming. And that was Predator, and that's what we did.
Well, it's been a remarkable achievement. So what's next? What do we have to look forward to in the months and the years to come from Acer? What's grabbing your attention, and what's in your head?
We got wonderful success in gaming in Predator, but there are certain nuance, small, I call it micro trend that we observe. About 50% of customers who purchase our gaming machine also use it for productivity. About 15% of customers that purchase our gaming machine never play games. So we got confused and say, what's going on? Why do they buy gaming machine? And then with all the focus group and our market research, we realized that they're actually creators, they're engineers, they're developers. They just need the computing power and the graphic capability, and they're compromising by buying gaming PC because there are not many other choices. So we decided to come out with the Creator PC for creators. We call them Concept D.
Yeah, it's a very exciting new brand, and actually I would recommend to everybody here to go to the Acer balcony,
yes,
Agora, because
it's
just a little sort of teaser. But yes, I mean, I think I really understand that. I mean, the idea of building an ecosystem for creative people comes on the back of the humanity of the company and the research that you've gained from gaming, which is to see how gaming machines are used. I think it's a terrific idea, so it's exciting. So just to wrap up, we're running out of time. So for everyone, what's your tip? What are the tips for anybody sort of in here, in this room or watching, who have a turnaround situation? Is there a sort of a cliff notes for turnaround situations in terms of attitudes of mind that people want to employ?
Whether that's external dynamic or whether that's excitement or business, back to basics, fundamentals. I talk about why I joined this company, because the culture, because of humanity. We didn't give that up. We actually, if anything, we continue to enhance that. As a small news I would like to share, with our effort on humanity, on environmental protection, Acer was recognized and invited to join United Nations Environmental Program this week in Osaka. One of the very few companies actually achieved that. I have to tell you, yeah, we are #1 in 30+ countries for a gaming PC, but I'm even more excited that we got recognized by our effort in humanity, in environmental protection, and we're able to join United Nations programs. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Well, on behalf of everybody here, thank you for making this long trip. And I think I can speak as an ex-resident of Taiwan, how grateful Taiwan is for the job that you've done. Acer is a very important company for that country. Taiwan is a very important country for us. It's a monumental performance, and I'm blessed to have the chance to speak to you today. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you.